Howdy fools, I'm Jallomoth, curator of all things curious, and I'm American. The proud to be part is hanging on for dear life at the moment, but this is as solid as it gets, my friends. And if there's one thing we all have in common other than monsters and mascots, it's Cowboy Bebop. You might not think about it much, but this romantic bounty hunter anime from Sunrise Studio Japan was made just for us. Well, not just for us, it's for everyone. But Bebop did a lot for introducing anime to the Western world, and that was just about the furthest thing from an accident or coincidence that you could possibly get. Fellow YouTuber Steak Bentley has the greatest Cowboy Bebop video essay ever written over on his channel called Cowboy Bebop and the West, which is a fantastic dive into exactly what I mean. But you don't need an essay to tell you that the Western about the cowboy named Spike is appealing to an American audience. Now, by no means am I the first American to feel the need to talk about this series. I'm about 3 decades too late to try to claim that title, but that doesn't change the fact that this anime made me feel oddly seen and heard as an American teen boy. Much like roughly every other guy who didn't fall into being literally Spider-Man or Ryan Gosling. I was all three. This is practically the phone wallet keys of teenage projection, but it's for such good reason. Each and every episode of Cowboy Bebop, except maybe that one that we don't talk about, solidify this show as a piece of zenith media to me. Legitimately one of the greatest stories ever told, something every human should experience at least once. If you're watching this without seeing it for yourself, go watch the first episode. If you didn't like it, your brain is probably rotted out from one too many Chinese AI dancing cat videos, so watch up to the first big 2-parter. But at that point, you're like halfway through the series, so just watch it all. Twice. 3 times. I'm like 50 cycles through at this point, but there will always be something so uniquely special about watching that first episode for the first time. This is Asteroid Blues. Asteroid Blues may not even fall within the top 10 sessions of the series, but no other episode could be half as effective of a pilot as this one right here. Asteroid Blues is Cowboy Bebop's thesis statement. It tells you exactly what you're getting into and the characters you follow through it. We only get to meet 2 of the 5 members of the Bebop crew in this first outing, which was a smart move by Watanabe. Overall, this series feels extraordinarily controlled. It wants us to really get to know these guys well, but it does that without skipping a beat or wasting a moment. It opens on this very noir, literally black and white scene. All we hear are church bells, which as the color fades in, slowly morphs into the song Memory, one of the most common motifs in the series. The song is called Memory because in the context of the show, that's exactly what it represents. The past. I won't get too deep into Bebop's music theory here because there might be some better episodes for that down the line, but it's literally in the name. This anime's relationship to music is intrinsic, it's rooted in its DNA, so it will be something I'm constantly mentioning. And this first episode really shows off that mastery. Every song means something, and the experience you get on first watch as the church bells fade into Memory, which escalates into Tank, man, I would trade anything to get to go back and experience this show for the first time again. And we really owe that feeling to Asteroid Blues. Video essayists, including me, love to use this word, but it without a shadow of a doubt is the most quintessential episode there is. It's not so easy to seamlessly slide the audience into a massive new world, but Studio Sunrise did it. Full-blown retrofuturism, cosmic astral gateways, space cowboy bounty hunters, capitalist expansionism. All of it is right here in Session 1. The world right out of the gate feels so dirty and lived in, it's so charming. And this show's odd tone and myriad of genres is somehow encapsulated wonderfully down into just 22 minutes. I mean, what even is Bebop? A sci-fi western comedic crime thriller drama action noir with horror undertones and some of the best world building you could possibly ask for? It really feels like this universe has been toiling for decades and we just stepped into it. Bebop is jazz, it is fluid, it is experimental, and like I said at the beginning, it's so vividly American. On the macro level, they're cowboys on the vast frontier of space. And down to earth, Spike is a spiritualist who frequents a Native American soothsayer's teepee for advice. Bebop takes place in the natural conclusion to capitalist expansionism, and just like capitalism has always been, nobody wants to work. Everything in this world is filthy and no one wants to clean. The police are so understaffed and overworked that they encourage bounty hunters to catch the bad guys for them, using the promise of money not as a career but as a bribe to get people to do it for them. Half because they aren't going to do it themselves, and half because there's not enough of them to even do anything. This world depicts a people who have been overworked and underpaid for over a century.
I busted my tail to dig that gate.
We all dug that gate together, and you know it.
And what do we got to show for it?
Even a nomadic spiritualist man such as Laughing Bull sits atop a horde of material capitalistic gain. This guy has a PS1 in his teepee. As we can see, Bebop is really all about dichotomy. Japan and America, the past and the present, a solo and a band of people, music and silence, dreaming and being awake. This series is yin and yang. The other clearest yet unspoken of them is the stark difference between Spike and Jet. Two men stuck firmly in the past, each in their own way. From the very beginning of this episode, from memory playing to us literally seeing glimpses of Spike's past, we see this looming and following our main man until the very end. Spike is quite literally, constantly, haunted by his past. I can't stress enough how gobsmackingly well done this is. Asteroid Blues and the whole of Cowboy Bebop is the story of a group of people stuck in their pasts, trying their best to grapple with the present. People all dealing with loss, memory, the fragility of life, and the passage of time. In this episode's case, both of these men are stubborn hardasses who aren't quick to share how they feel. So how do you communicate to us, the audience, that weight that they're carrying without them just saying it? Well, exactly like this. Bebop perfectly, yet wordlessly, conveys what it's like to be trapped by your history. Something so uniquely bittersweet about Cowboy Bebop is that we never find out the whys or the hows. It's all about four people and a dog dealing with their past lives in different ways, but we never see those past experiences. We only see them experiencing the loss of them. Whether it's the loss of someone that you love, a loss of a part of you, or the loss of family. This show isn't really one for flashbacks, if it can avoid them. We see the fallout of the past, the visage and ripples of it on the present, and that's all. Even in just this first episode, you can literally see and feel their history weighing on them. You can see the thoughts behind their smiles. Despite being session 1, Spike Spiegel is already a perfectly realized character. I find it so impressive how much this first episode tells you about him. Spike is a laid-back cat, a mischievous and brazen daydreamer. He's cunning, disciplined, and always moving. He's a wanderer, much like a river of flowing water. Whatever happens, happens. He's neither pessimistic nor optimistic, he just is. Despite this calm, flowing nature, he's incredibly accident-prone, less on his feet and more in terms of property damage. He's nearly tactless when it comes to doing literally anything delicately. It's not that Spike doesn't care about dying or thinks he's invulnerable, he just knows death will come at some time and he isn't afraid. I mean, the guy chain smokes the entire series. He's so stuck in the past and the present that he basically has no future, at least not when he's planning. When Laughing Bull tells Spike that all he will find is death at the hands of a woman if he goes after this perp's bounty, this only serves to excite him. Spike flows freely, believing that fate will take him whenever he's meant to go. Jet Black is Spike Spiegel's total opposite. Detail-oriented, focused, careful, goal-driven. Supportive and crafty, he's up and at 'em and always on the case. If Spike is carefree, he is careful. If Spike is a flowing river, Jet is the boulder in the middle of the stream. There's a reason that Laughing Bull calls them Swimming Bird and Running Rock. Despite their different natures and tendency to argue, they find themselves coming to the same conclusions often, and having quite similar success rates in their job as cowboys or bounty hunters. Spike might be a charming, smooth-talking super badass with the best shot in the West, but Jet is this sweet yet grizzled vigilante detective. The two together are Western noir, and as much as they argue, they have this ever-long and totally unspoken respect for one another that only a man could understand. Figuratively, of course.
You take women too lightly, my friend.
On the contrary.
From my perspective, Asteroid Blues is an exploration of Spike's relationships. His relationship with Jet, his relationship with himself, with his own past, with spiritualism and fate itself, his relationship to the bebop, to the swordfish, to his work, and even society itself. But maybe more important than anything else, Spike's relationship to food. Spike is hungry. And this is the driving force of the entire series. The plight of the Bebop crew is one of perpetual hunger born from poverty. And I, for one, love when characters are poor. Think of something like Patty's Pub from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or even the Krusty Krab from early seasons of SpongeBob. When business is not booming, our characters get desperate. And from that desperation comes the unknown. Adventure. Wulongs, aka
Money!
is the big MacGuffin plot device here, but there's nothing else it could have been in this currency-driven industrialist society. Wulongs are why the characters became bounty hunters, why they steal even with a heart of gold. The reason they have, or don't have, any money is because of Spike's total recklessness though. This guy starts huffing and puffing when there's no beef in his bell peppers and beef like a spoiled cat. But he's the reason they can't afford meat. Sure, he catches bounty heads, but he also completely smashes vehicles, buildings, and people's bones in the process. That stuff adds up quick. Spike is so interesting to me because he's broke, he needs money to eat, but at the same time he's not really in this for the money, at least not entirely. He's in it for the thrill. He's clearly chasing something, maybe he's desperately clawing at a chance to feel alive again. That desperation is mirrored in the man that Jet is looking to capture, Asimov Solensen. Spike originally tells Jet that the town of Tijuana on the nearby asteroid belt is full of small fry, and that Asimov isn't even worth the chase. I mean, the Wulong is practically worthless at this point. It can be assumed they amount to pennies, if that. Asimov's bounty of $2.5 million could probably get you a Honda Civic. But what convinces Spike to go after the guy isn't the bounty, the money, or the thrill. It's that Jet tells Spike that they've got some pretty good carnitas down there in TJ, and that's enough. You see, most sessions follow the gang hunting down a bounty head. Sometimes it's a hacker, a bomber, a killer, a dealer, a mafioso, anyone with a price. First on that roster is Asimov Solensen, the Desperado. Him and his girl Katerina are clearly meant to resemble the couple from Desperado. I'm too busy watching the Dollars trilogy at the moment to rewatch Robert Rodriguez's Mexico trilogy to understand the nuance of their interpretation fully, but Bebop isn't the kind of series where you really need a lot of outside context. As a matter of fact, Asimov is a very simplistic character. He's just as simple as many of the other villains of the week, but even still, he's no less effective. Despite being a small fry, he puts Spike in one of the most compromising positions he ever finds himself in the series by being underhanded. It really shows us early on that this silver-tongued cat we love so much may not have 9 lives after all. When I called most of the antagonists in this show simple, I really mean it, but there is a very good reason for this, and it's that their purpose in the show is more of that of a device. It's not Asimov's narrative destiny to really blow our socks off by being the coolest or scariest or most well-written villain in the world. No, it's his job to tell us something about Spike. Now, on the surface, Asimov and Spike couldn't be more different, but I'm here to tell you that this is not the case. Every character in this series holds a mirror up to Spike Spiegel, but only certain features are reflected each time. Much like Spike, Asimov is a former member of the Syndicate, a massive crime organization and the reason for much of Spike's trauma. But while Spike was a noble hitman who found a break and took his one way out of the game as smooth as he could, Asimov left the Syndicate in a much different way, by killing his own men and making out with the drugs that they were pushing. There are these little vaporizer vials of liquid that you spray into your eyes that give you a whole host of mental and physical after effects. This bloody eye, as it's called, is something the Syndicate pretty desperately wants back, as it takes months to produce just a single vial. Redistributing it alone is a big ask. But it's also Asimov and Katerina's only way to move to Mars and leave all this behind them. But let's just say the past catches up with everyone. And it's not about running and running until your legs give, it's about being ready for anything. It's not just what this session is saying, it's how it says it all. Bebop has some of the greatest presentation of any series I've ever seen. Everything is syncopated to the beat, the visuals feel just as free-flowing as the Bebop of its namesake. The animation itself is something unrepeatable today. This era's animation just has a certain weight to it. It's nearly indescribable, but the way that things move or break, it all feels so tangible. This visual weight makes moments like when Asimov dodges a bullet feel so impactful and satisfying. Something impossible, but done with enough finesse to seem realer than should be feasible. It feels unreal.
Well, it's not!
There's a certain scene I particularly like in which Spike runs into Asimov in the bathroom, but instead of aggressing him with the advantage, he lets him go and goes outside to chat it up with Katerina. Why does he do this? Well, I think it's because Spike listens when fate beckons. Laughing Bull told Spike that the red-eyed coyote will appear in the Zona Norte at the far end of town. Spike doesn't press Asimov in the bathroom because the bathroom isn't the Zona Norte at the far end of town. If Spike was told to wait for the right moment for fate to crash down like a tidal wave, he knows to sit back. Like I said, even in this first episode, Spike is just such an insanely interesting figure. He's a theatrical, romantic trickster. He tells Katerina that he's a traveling street performer. And in another life, he probably would be. Sooner or later, though, that facade drops. It's as if he sees fate coming, so he just tells Katerina that he's a bounty hunter. But he also tells her that that boyfriend of hers is sick, and that he doesn't even bother with small fry like him. Asimov sneaks up on him at the gas station talking to his woman about how much of a pathetic loser he is and chokes him nearly to death for it, only relenting when Katarina begs him to stop. Spike uses his gift of sleight of hand to snag one of the red-eye vials off of him before he hits the ground. That little detail is as good a time as any to say that I think Cowboy Bebop has the best choreography of anything I've ever seen. Every motion, small or large, possible or impossible, feels so real. Asimov and Spike are both animalistic in a certain way, but not in the same way as each other. They can both feel like cornered animals, but only one is feral. Spike is very reserved, yet playful. When he accosts Asimov again after hunting him down, he shows him the bloody eye that he just stole off of him after pretending to be a buyer, just for fun. He throws it up in the air, and much like the man with no name from who Spike takes so much inspiration, he uses his impossible marksmanship to blast it out of the sky. But instead of blowing Asimov's head off with his Jericho, he tosses his gun away to fight Asimov like a man. This is the moment where Spike won, and all the stellar choreography afterwards is just a little extra pulp to an amazing sequence of events. Every moment in this series is just as layered and dynamic as the jazz set behind it all. Spike and Asimov aren't just fighting, the environment is involved. Katarina is trying to shoot Spike. The Syndicate dudes are shooting them both. They chase each other through the city. Spike kicks the shit out of 5 dudes on top of a car. There's a big reveal, a tragic character moment, comedy, action, Jet shows up, hell yeah, friendship, the music swells!
Rotten! You're late, Jet!
It all crescendos into this stellar chase. There's no way you aren't wide-eyed watching this as Road to the West starts swelling. All of that chaotic sound has been pulled back as the most beautiful song in the series is shot to silence with one last twist. The death via woman that Laughing Bull had predicted, paired with pure, controlled silence. And then a torrent of gunfire as their ship is shredded apart. No amount of words can ever convey how vital the sound design is to Bebop. It is so clearly the vision for this series to be made of music. Every gunshot, every footstep, every note of every song syncopated to the ebb and flow of the animation. And not to mention the literal flawless dub casting. Bo Billingsley gives this tough yet sensitive performance to Jet that I think no other man could have done half as well. And you don't even need me to tell you that Steve Blum was the one and only possible option in the world to play Spike. Sometimes it feels to me like this man was put on Earth to voice him. He is so iconic as this character that the sub-actor sounds off. And with Blum becoming the VA for Toonami Tom a year after Bebop started, it's safe to say that he is quite literally the voice of anime in the West.
Sorry, what was that?
If you were stranded on a deserted space station and had to pick only one show...
Bebop.
But there's one performance here better than any other, one that proportionally to the character's screen time deserves more praise than any. And that would be the woman known only as Katia Morales, the voice actress behind Katarina. I'm beginning to think that this may be an alias, as I can find nobody of that name anywhere online. I don't know her, what she looks like, what else she's been in, or where the hell they found her, but I am so glad that they did. She gives this tragic character so much depth that you never question any of her actions. Her feelings are so well conveyed, and she likely has one of the most tragic and shocking deaths in this series, and I don't just say that willy-nilly. Morales elegantly portrayed her performance perfectly, adding up to what I would call a genuinely flawless soundscape. From every song to every second the frame lingers on an establishing shot, it is all so controlled, so particular. It all comes together to form a vision, a visionary masterpiece. Asteroid Blues is the perfect first episode, not just because of how masterful it establishes everything Bebop has to offer, but because it itself is a beautiful little microcosm of the series. For it ends exactly where it started, yet things aren't the same. By the end, lives were ended, and Spike carries that weight. And yet still, nothing quite feels different. As the session comes to a close, the status quo restarts, but this time Spike is gone. Foreshadowing? In this economy? Spike spends the last seconds of this episode in a bit of a paradoxical nightmare. He's training his body and abusing it at the same time with his 50th cigarette of the episode. His reflection in the glass separating him from the void of space is both literal and figurative. Despite resetting the status quo, despite never mentioning Asimov or Katarina ever again, despite the episodic nature of this show, Spike does reflect. And though he may not necessarily be a different man after going through this first session, he will carry its weight. This might as well be the best pilot you could possibly ask for, which is a great way to sum up Spike as well. What do you think, Spike? Is this a good episode?
Yeah, it's a blast from the past.
I've been your host, Jallomoth, curator of all things curious, and tune in next time when we ask a similar but very different question. Is Episode 2 Stray Dog Strut Cowboy Bebop's best session? Stay curious, and see you, Space Cowboy.
Shit, you just tried to grab my dick, dude.